Hello. Welcome to round 7 of our CanAm season. We are in Vegas for 25 laps of this 6.2 kilometer circuit, 17 corners, and a mix of medium and high speed corners as well. Couple of long straights for drivers to contend with, a nice long 1.2 kilometer straight with a DRS zone towards the end, about a third of or 2/3 of the way down, completing that straight down. Probably one of the most famous parts of the world in the Las Vegas Strip, past the casinos and all the lovely hotels they've got there. So, going into qualifying, we've got we have 18, possibly 19 drivers at the minute. Definitely 18 currently, with our championship leader CanAm into the. So yeah, we've got CanAm currently championship leader, I believe, still, and absolutely dominated the last majority of the season. Currently a fair few points clear as well, a good 46 points clear already after last week's race. So we do have some drivers going out on track. So we got Seven in the Haas currently as one of our first couple of drivers out. So we've also got the Alpine of Oliver as well, also out on track. He was the first driver out. So as we come up to turns 4, 5, 6, very few couple of tight corners here. This left and right is not always the easiest, probably some of the hardest part of the track there, having to navigate through a couple of very tight corners. You can't really see much of the curb as you come round. Very easy to invalidate your laps around there and possibly lose a lot of time if you get it slightly wrong. So we are coming up to the only DRS zone on one of the only two DRS zones, sorry. It has been shortened down this main one by about a good quarter of it has come off, so a little bit shorter now. Not so much time to gain on that straight anymore. But as Oliver starts his flying up, we will sit and watch, see how he does. So up through turns 1 and 2, quite a tight. Oh, that was close. That pit exit is horrible sometimes. Very, very dangerous as well. Leading straight out onto turn 2 and 3. So Oliver's getting a nice tow from the Aston Martin here. Could be getting held up slightly. Does get out of the way nicely on the exit of the corner. Does set a nice respectable 26.6. With 7 very close behind. Getting a nice bit of tow off the Aston Martin as well. So we do have the other Haas in shot, just moving out of the way of both drivers here. Possibly could help his teammate out, but does look to move out of the way nicely on the minimap. Let's have a little look and see how he's doing now. As we come through sector 2, he does set purple, and it is a 56.3, a nice little time there for 7. Coming down the 1.2 kilometer straight, opens the DRS nice and wide as it gives the cars an extra 10 kilometers an hour speed and a bonus for that part. That's especially that straight where they're going flat out all the way through. So Oliver comes across, finishes with a 36.2. and 7 is also, that's not 7, 7 did go pole with a 32.4, Tin Man quickly crosses the line as well with a 33.3. Plenty of time for him to go back out, and Pizza in the Mercedes gets out of the way quickly of his teammate as well at the end of his lap. Does go third fastest. Suck in the McLaren goes fifth fastest. McCoy puts a nice time in so far, and Faro goes second fastest in the Aston Martin. Ego in this Mercedes on his first flying lap is currently quickest in sector 1. So far is looking very, very strong for that Mercedes team. So as we come through turns 10, 11 and 12, a couple of nice long left and right sweeping handers, collect a fair bit of speed through there, through the slower left hander of turn 12, down the long straight, and Brian has unfortunately disappeared, having a few troubles tonight, but no doubt can get back in here with plenty of time to go. So Ego coming up to finish his flying lap in a moment, up through the other couple of tight corners there, takes them nicely, takes them off the curb, not to damage his lap too much. Luckily doesn't come across any traffic and currently goes 13th fastest, no, 5th fastest, sorry, with a purple sector 3 as well, and currently quickest over in that part of the track. Has set a very, very good time and goes just behind his teammate, setting some good times so far, some of these drivers. So we do have the championship leader currently on a flying lap up behind his teammate, getting a fair bit of toll off him at the minute. What is going to happen between these two now? So Anime on the medium tyres, setting what looks to be a bit of a banker lap for himself, just to get a feel for the circuit, see how he goes. Does have his teammate Logan just ahead on soft tyres to give themselves possibly enough gap. So as we finish off these two laps, these two drivers are looking good at the minute. Has Logan there run out of his back with his light flashing maybe, but 16th for Anime and 12th for Logan currently, but it did look as if the if Anime was held up slightly, but plenty of time for him to go again. So far almost everyone has set laps, ranging from a 32.3 to a 34.9. Nice bit of a gap at the minute, but plenty of drivers yet to set laps again, and some to possibly even change the tyres to go again. So we do have Will here coming up through the end of sector 1, setting a nice time there of a 26.2, lovely first sector. Little lock up by the looks of that, but as we are coming through 10, 11, 12, blasting all what he can of his battery, has got his fuel flashing slightly. Not too sure he's put enough in the car for this lap, but it will be interesting to see what he can put in and possibly take the fight to Oliver in P1 at the minute. So far is looking good. DRS wide open now. Absolutely getting everything out of this Williams that he possibly can. Up through this tight section of 14, 15 and 16 are pretty quick. Has taken a wobble through there. Will damage his lap time massively and does go into the pits and aborts that lap quite rightfully there. So MJW now will be starting his flying lap in a moment. We do have Rowdy on a cooldown lap by the looks of it. We have Oro on a in-lap. A fair few drivers now going back out with 8 minutes to go. So a few sat in the pits now, a fair few out on track. So we have Rowdy in the Aston Martin currently on an in-lap or another out-lap maybe just to keep some temperature. But going by his fuel situation, maybe not. Mr. G is on a flyer at the minute. Currently P8 with a 32.9. Does look very strong so far in this Red Bull. And looking very good round here to potentially take home a good result for the team and for himself this season. Won't be his only, if he does finish top 10, won't be his only points finish of the year, but will be a very good gain of points round a quick but difficult circuit. And we did see there, unfortunately, MJW retire at the end of Sector 2 there. Unfortunately, that won't do his confidence going into the race very well. But plenty of laps in the race to make up some time. And Mr. G does go 5th fastest. That was a very good lap there from the Red Bull driver. So Thief currently on a hot lap, taking these corners nicely. Ooh, did look a little wide going on the exit there, but does take it very well. Does keep control of the car, doesn't look to have lost much time either. Can he beat his 33.0? Yes he does, and he goes 3rd fastest. He's just behind his teammate by only a millisecond. Very, very close times there at the top. And a fantastic time there for Thief. That's going to do his confidence a world of good going into this race. Absolutely brilliant there from both Haas drivers so far. So there you go. Currently on a hot lap. It does set the purple Sector 2 time. Not too sure what it was. Just missed the timings there. But looks to be on a flyer if he's setting purple sectors here. So coming into the final part of the lap is looking very clean and tidy through that part. Not the easiest section by all means of this circuit, but also not the most difficult. Coming through the final corner and goes quickest by 0.3 of a second. What an absolute storming lap from the Mercedes of Ago. That was brilliant to get on board and watch there. So who else have we got going on hot laps right now? We have got Capitano on a flyer through the middle of Sector 2 here, wide through there a little bit, keeps it on to the racing line perfectly through the right left-hander of turns 12. Coming up to the DRS at the minute, does have a couple of cars ahead, potentially on fast laps as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, Fives is also on a fast lap. We also have Anime about to go into the pits as well. Has unfortunately invalidated his time. Fives also goes into the pits, and Capitano carries on through. has used all of his DRS, but does go 7th fastest, jumps above Pizza Dog in the Mercedes, and the Red Bull goes 7th and just ahead of his teammate, and a nice little time for Capitano. We do see Logan there just jump into the top 10. Nice little lap, only a 10th behind Mr. G in the Red Bull ahead of him. And looking good for the race there with the Ferrari of Logan. With 32.8 and a nice respectable time for both him and Capitano with 32.6. Looking closer down the field, a lot of drivers at the minute very close with their timings. So Zuck in the McLaren comes through the sector 1 now. Has just finished that sector, is 2.5 tenths up on his time. Will he improve here with hit from his 33.2? Is currently 14th fastest right now. Does look very strong through parts of this track as well. Overtake is on, lasting as much battery as he possibly can through there, but enough so he's still got it, but not enough. So he's still got a chance down the main straight here. Very long straight. Will need all of that battery that he's possibly got, but not to capitalise his lap too much on the final straight leading up to the start-finish line. So as we come through the left-right, oh, it takes a fair bit of curb there. Does bounce his car way to the right. Does almost cut the corner. Has got his final part of the battery going and is about to go. He does stay 14th fastest, in fact. Does improve on his time, but it's not quite enough to... Unfortunately, not quite enough to launch himself up the grid any more than where he is, but still a very good time. And keeps himself a few tenths ahead of the Sauer Tin Man. Looking good so far on the end of this lap. Does have a fair bit more battery. Oh, goes a little bit deep and unfortunately has to bail out that lap. But luckily enough runoff area for him to go into. Very, very unfortunate there. So we have Will here on an outlap. Yet to set a lap time. But a couple of minutes to go in this session. He will have enough time to do one. So we do see Rowdy on what looks to be an outlap or another, or is in lap maybe. Currently P5. McCoy just goes up to P4. That was a very good lap there from the Racing Bull driver. Looking very good. Looks to be a very interesting race that we go into. So, couple of drivers up there at the minute of Oliver and Ago. Going by recent races, looked to be somewhat semi-promising going into this race, but also a little bit hit and miss with some of their races at the same time, but have bounced into Las Vegas very strong. So Oliver is on a flying lap, hasn't done, he is only in this first sector coming up to turn 5, 6. He does go almost a tenth quicker. He does look to be going to be setting a new quickest lap here. 7 goes second fastest now. Very good lap time, just shy of a tenth, or just shy of half a tenth behind Oliver so far. Do have Pizza going into the pits. McCoy currently on his in lap. 5's on a flying lap, just about to go finish this lap for himself and does go second fastest. That is an absolute flying lap there. That's brilliant from the Sauber driver. Goes from the bottom half of the grid up to P2. Very good lap there. So Zach is on a flying lap, about to finish off here. Goes 13th fastest, and Will, on his only lap, goes 10th fastest. That is very good there from the Williams driver. Unfortunate to have only got one lap in for himself, but he made the most out of it when he got it in. Very good qualifying from a lot of drivers there. Very good top three as well. Quite close. Only half a tenth separates the top three. And Oliver 5 and 7 will be very pleased with themselves there. And we look to have an exciting race on our hands going into it. So, we could see a fair few battles here going around these 25 laps of this race, with a fight in the top three of Oliver 5 and 7 looking to battle out for the win. This whole race going by how close they were in qualifying. Also, a few battles towards the bottom end of the points positions for 8th, 9th and 10th look to be very strong as well. And throughout the midfield in general, looks to be a strong race there. Could have a few little gaps here and there, but overall looks to have battles throughout the field and hopefully an action-packed race. And going by this weather, it will definitely be an action-packed race. I'm going to take a moment's break. I'll be back in a second. So, Oliver does get away for this formation lap. Wet weather looks to be wet for the whole race. They are starting on the blue tyres meaning full wet conditions. It doesn't look fun, not one bit. So it does look like a lot of spray is going to be coming off with these cars. Going to be a very interesting first couple of corners when we get back round to the start finish straight. How these cars are staying on track right now for this formation lap is unbelievable. So just sit on board for a moment, just take in what some of the drivers will be seeing at the minute. That does not look fun. Not the most, this is going to be an interesting race for some of these guys. So as we come up to finish the formation lap in a moment. So as the possible race strategies says there, we are looking at a full wet race and we are about to go here. Oh, Mr. G unfortunately with a drive through, and also his teammate does get a drive through, but we are away. Oliver does get us through turn one, and a couple of, oh, there is a little collision at the back there. Everyone else does get away pretty cleanly. A few bits of carbon fibre flying everywhere through turns 1, 2 and 3. But as we go into turn 5, oh, there is a little bit of contact from the two drivers there, but do exit the corner nice and cleanly. 7 does get ahead just about. Nice close battle between Oliver and 7 as we go into one of the tight parts of the circuit through sector 2 up into turns 9, 10, 11 and 12 into 11 here. Does look to be nice and close between these two. They are starting to break away from the rest of the pack. We're going to be a nice close battle between these two drivers. So Oliver does lead 7 currently, as 7 slightly just around the corner. Oh, bit of traction disappearing from Oliver there. Probably not quite in enough of a dry line on that part of the circuit yet. But everywhere else does look to be very clean. We are seeing a lot of spray off the cars, not really seeing much of the car itself through all of this spray, but everyone does come through. Oh, do have someone going wide. Did come onto the track very, very close at the back there, but everyone has survived the first lap so far, and we do see a couple of cars jumping into the pits. 5s for wing damage by the looks of this. We do have Capitano and Mr. G unfortunately having an incident there, but we do see them two serving their drive-through penalties. 5s with his front wing change. Oliver and 7 are battling each other nicely here. 7 has retaken lead into this first sector again, has got a 7th and almost a second lead now, with Ago jumping in behind, closing the gap now to just under a second as well. Bowdy also now within half a second. This is a very close battle so far. So coming into turn 13 here, we have got very, very close battle. Looking exciting. The cars starting to spread out a little bit now and give each other a little bit more space, as the Mercedes of Pizza did look to go for a little move there on the inside, but backed out just in time for the corner. Has got a nice little slipstream from the car ahead of McCoy, with 7 now for setting the fastest lap of a 1:49.3. Great time there for this very, very wet circuit. So Will and Oro are fighting nicely here, just under a tenth between them. Have got a nice little battle on our hands between these two. This will get very close going into the corner of turn 5 here, and Oro goes up the inside, keeps it nice and clean, doesn't make any contact with Will, still trying to fight back down the inside here. They are keeping within each other's limits and giving each other enough respect out on track there, with Logan and Anime closely following them, looking at this battle form to try and pounce whenever one of them possibly slips up here. But a very close battle here for P8. They are slowly dropping off the back of everyone else, but a very good four-way battle here for the final 3 point positions, with Oro unfortunately dropping just over a second behind. He will need to possibly pick it up a little bit just to keep within the slipstream and make the most out of what lack of DRS we're going to have this race. So going further down the grid, it has opened up a fair bit with only Ryan and Zuck the closest two drivers currently, the two McLarens. And Zuck is slowly pulling away, making the most out of unfortunately Tin Man has retired, not too sure what's happened there, with 7 now taking a 3-second lead in this wet race, doing very well out front. Hasn't got the distraction of anyone's spray off the car in front of him, doing nice little job out front and keeping that gap, just maintaining his pace with some nice driving there. Rowdy and Oliver slowly gaining, but still having their own little battles back here, with Rowdy unfortunately dropping back, but gaining time in certain corners of the circuit, and now currently half a second behind in the slipstream, getting pulled along nicely from the Alpine here, with Ego and McCoy unfortunately dropping back to just over a second from them guys, but having a nice little battle for P4 currently, with a few drivers losing traction in the exit of the corners to unfortunately lose a bit of time. And Pizza has really caught onto the back of McCoy, who's unfortunately lost a bit of time through that final part of the circuit. Not the nicest part either, through the tight left and right into the straight. Not the best to get traction in the dry, let alone what it's going to be like in this weather. But keeping a nice little gap to each other, have got a potential battle towards the end of this race if they can keep it like that and keep within each other's slipstream and take this race to their own for P5. But unfortunately, gaps are opening up throughout the race now and throughout the field. Our closest battle being Ego and Oliver Ego and Oliver now for P3. Unfortunately, as we've been going through other little battles and other drivers, we have missed it. But Ego is going up the outside, possibly did look as if he went for a little move, but backed out slowly. Just gaining whatever he can to maybe make it on the inside. Rowdy will need to look into his mirrors as we go. Yes, he does make the move up the inside there, just before the corner, makes it a clean stick. Oh, and we do have a few cars wobble. Oliver does almost take his wing off. Does survive going into the wall and does stay in the race, but has lost a fair bit of time to the cars ahead of him now. Mr. G has retired, unfortunately. Not what he would have wanted, but also not the best of conditions today. Not the easiest of races for people. Not the best of weathers for this Las Vegas Grand Prix today. Do feel for the drivers having to drive in this horrible weather. It's not the greatest in the dry. Looks dreadful in the wet. So Oliver has backed off a little bit, or has gained it now a little bit. Is starting to jump back into this top 3. Ego is now 8/10 behind Rowdy, trying to gain for that top 2 position, trying to get into is on the podium and trying to get higher up to do his points tally some good this year and to maintain some good positions from the past, from this season that he's had. So did have a little wobble on the exit, has regained a lot of that time and doing very well. Is gaining and gaining. Will he look to make the move? Not this time. Does stay behind. 10 man going into the final part of this lap. Does back off a little bit, but is possibly going to try and gain a little bit more time. Rowdy with a 46.7 lap time. That is a great lap for this slowly, I can't even say drying because it doesn't look to be whatsoever. So Ego 9/10 behind now, has backed off a little bit through that first few corners. Into turn 5 we go. Possibly gonna gain a little bit on the exit. He does just about. So as we watch this battle going round, we will sit on board and see what happens for the rest of this lap. And Ego makes a move early going into the straight here. Nice little overtake there. Is using a fair bit of battery though, but Tin Man Rowdy just biding his time, knowing there's still just shy of 20 laps to go. Biding his time with his battery management and trying to do whatever he can now just to stay on the back of Ego. Has still got this top 3 spot. Ego does set the fastest lap with 46.5. Another quick lap there from one of the drivers in the top 3. Does look to be an interesting 18 laps-ish. Just shy maybe to go. With Rowdy making the move back past. Very good driving from both of these two. Looks just. Oh, slight little slide through that corner, but keeps it well. Nice through there. Oh, Ego does drift it around the corner. Made it look nice, and keeps within a good distance of Rowdy here to try and gain some of that time back. Rip does look to be slowly disappearing through these as we go on. Tyres are not holding up that well through this circuit either. Quite a slippery track. Tyre deg isn't always the best round here, and not going to be the greatest with these wet tyres either. It's not exactly a track we would have thought would be wet. But we do have here McCoy looking to make the move on Oliver. And he does do it on the outside and makes that look nice and easy for himself. Thief just disappeared for a moment then. I think he possibly went a little bit wide going into there. Valdi sets another fast lap. That is a great time, 46.2 there. 7 unfortunately has a time penalty there. The only driver on the grid to have one so far. Possibly for track limits, didn't quite see that one come up. But McCoy starting to put away from his Alpine rival Oliver. So far has gained a second or just over as we enter the second sector of the lap. Half a second up is McCoy as well, looking very good here in the racing ball. Looking very content with his performance so far and has slight little wobble but does keep it nice and together. Looks to hit the wall slightly, but clearly not too much as he's carried on perfectly without too much of a worry. So Oro and Thief have dropped a little bit, unfortunately. Maybe a little bit of a wobble. Anime in the Ferrari does overtake Oro as well. On the back of Pizza now, he is going to try and make the move straight away. Will he get past before the corner? We are going to go freeway battle into here, and ooh! Oro looked to try and get in there before, doesn't quite make it, and Anime makes it past. Does have a small bit of contact, but not enough to ruin either their races. We are going to have another great battle here for P7. Anime trying to build as many positions as he can in this race. It doesn't look to be his favourite track right now. Is keeping Oro at bay through that first part of the first 4 corners though, and doing whatever he can. We are seeing a few pit stops as well. Do have Thief and Logan both in for early stops. We are only on lap 10 of this race, so they will need to do a solid 16 laps on this fresh set of tyres that they've put on. So Anime and Oro have slowly opened up a gap between each other. Oro doing whatever he can now though. Isn't using too much battery, is conserving it well. Probably going to use it when it is most crucial right now. Only being this early in the race, not much point using it. Will only do it when he needs to. So has lost out now on just over a second gap to Anime, with him now being 9/10 behind Pizza. Isn't gaining quickly, but enough to stay within distance. Oro does gain up the whole second using his battery. Does have a little mishap through that corner though, for 7 and Anime both to jump into the back of it. Both to jump up into 6th and 7th respectively now. So has Anime has 7 boxed in the end. So yeah, 7 has boxed. 5's Logan, Thief, Shifty, and MJW has unfortunately done 2 stops in this race. Not what he possibly would have wanted, but still a lot to happen, and anything can happen around here. Very tight circuit for a lot of these drivers to contend with. 7 setting a fastest sector 1 now. Absolutely flying to try and make his way back into this top 3 that is currently currently has McCoy, Rowdy and Ago. As we look on these top two so far, they are still very close to each other and battling out now for the winner's spot, but can't be won anytime soon. Ago and Rowdy, as we come up to the tight left, right, left, we are possibly around 6 tenths between them, if that. So Rowdy looks to be going into the pits. Yes, he is. Ago carries on. Rowdy is about to go put a fresh set of wet tyres on. So the gap now is 10 seconds between Ago and 7. A lot of drivers have jumped into the pits. Rowdy, McCoy, Oliver, Pizza, Oro, Will, all jumping into the pits now for their fresh tyres. Ago is the only one to have stayed out. Anime has still... Ago and Anime the only ones so far to be on their old tyres, with Zuck and Ryan both boxing now. So, old tyres against everyone else's fresh tyres. Possibly 7 has pulled his pit stop off at the very best time for himself, especially with the way he's gaining so quickly right now. That was 10 seconds, almost half a lap, well, just over half a lap ago, down to 8 now. Gaining very quickly with this fresh rubber. He is also on the intermediates with a lot of other drivers jumping onto them as well, actually. They do so. The only ones on the wet tyres are Ago, Anime, Oro and Capitano, all on the wets. Everyone else on the quicker intermediate tyres, though, doesn't look to have... does actually. There is much of a bit more of a dry line now. So, Ago has jumped into pits, does stick the intermediate tyres on. Anime has also jumped in for the intermediate tyres. Possibly the best choice of tyre right now by the looks of track conditions. Let's jump on board to see what it looks like from one of the cars. Does look 100% is intermediates. They are going to be a little bit slidey compared for the first lap or two while they get beat into them and put some rubber down. So, as we thought this was going to be a full wet race, it well and truly isn't now. We will have some very, very close battles now with the two Ferraris in 7th and 9th. The Haas of Thief having a much better race this time around. Absolutely flying here in Vegas, doing very well for the Haas team. Logan just behind, gaining pretty quickly as well on them fairly fresh Inters. The same tyre age as the car ahead. Both have 3-lap old tyres, and Thief is getting away now from the Ferrari driver. Looking very strong here. Anime gaining bit by bit, possibly on the Mercedes here. This race is starting to close back together now after these pit stops. A few big gaps in places, but a good few battles in others. So we are about to have one here between the Haas and the Ferrari. So, as we look into turn 5, they are extremely close here, having a somewhat of a fair battle here. Through the horrible section of 7, 8, 9, not the easiest part of the track, into 10, 11 and 12. Through the sweeping corners here, can pick up so much speed, which is helpful into this corner at times, but you don't want too much because it's easy to go straight on. The second gap has started to open up now, possibly a little bit of a mistake earlier on in the lap from Logan, but gaining nicely as we go into a new lap in a moment. This could be a battle that goes on now for the next 11 laps. As we go on to Oliver versus McCoy here, and Oliver does set the fastest lap now of a 41.9, looking very strong into turn 1, 2, 3 and 4 as we go round. Oliver still behind, but gaining a little bit here and there. Down on to what would be the first DRS straight, but unfortunately still no DRS active in this race due to them being on wet tyres. Or a little slide there from what it looked. Has lost a bit of time, unfortunately, but enough of the lap to go for him to gain and maybe even overtake McCoy this lap. Another one that could go all race long now. So Capitano does jump into the pits, possibly changing his wet tyres for the inters. Oliver and McCoy flying down now through them sweeping corners. They do have pizza closing the gap though, and trying to jump in on this little battle that they've got going on, with Anime also trying to join the party in this race, possibly in the next 5 to 6 laps. Could be a little bit longer depending on how they get on over the next 3 or 4. So 7 currently leading this race and taking it by storm right now, with Rowdy setting the fastest lap. Ego quickly redoing that fastest lap with a 41.6. This race could go anyway with anyone taking fastest lap right now, with the way that they're just absolutely smashing each one as the laps go on. But 7 with a 7.5 second lead so far has done extremely well so far this race. Absolutely in a league of his own so far. Took the early stop. Didn't quite take the early stop, but pitted a couple of laps after the first couple of people, and has just driven to a different level since. Tried to get past people, but in the end just let the race play out for himself. Has taken this very well, but unfortunately does have a penalty to deal with at the end. Has also lost now a little bit of time, but also having the pace advantage slightly through some of these corners compared to Rowdy. Could go on to win this race right now. With 9 laps to go, it is still open. Anything could happen. But it is looking very good for the Haas driver right now, with Rowdy 6 seconds behind, trying to do whatever he can to close that gap, knowing that there is a penalty ahead of him and he could go on to win this. So with the penalty, it is a 3 seconds for 7 and 10 seconds, unfortunately, for Ego. Anime now with the fastest lap of 41.5 hasn't been able to get much into this race, but now starting to make some gains as we go on. So we're still on board Rowdy here. Close that gap now to 3 to 5.5 seconds. Gaining as much as he can to get into that 3-second range in these last few laps. We'll check on board them two in a moment. McCoy currently on the back of Oliver, trying to do whatever he can now just to put the Alpine under a little bit of pressure. Isn't actually using any battery, but doing extremely well to keep on top of, well, keep on the back of the gearbox there of Oliver, but is using it now to close the gap, possibly try and make a move into these corners here. Does get past and makes the move nice and early. Will Oliver try and make the move back into this turn? Not quite, does stay behind. I think that would be the right decision to do so. Does put the overtake on, trying to make the move back into turns 17. Not quite here, but can he do it into turns 1, 2, 3 and 4 maybe? Not quite, does stay behind. Great little bit of driving from these two here. They are giving each other enough respect on track and giving everyone a nice battle to watch. So Pizza was gaining but dropped off a little bit now, while Anime tries to make the move. Does back out of it slightly. Right decision into that corner, as it's not a fun right-hander to overtake in all the time. Through 7, 8 and 9, not the easiest corners to contend with. It is very slidey around there, it is very tight. One wrong move and you're going to say hello to a barrier, unfortunately. But they do keep it well away from that. And through the sweeping right and left into the tight left of turns 12 isn't always fun, isn't always the easiest way to navigate around there. But they have both done the job and kept it cleanly through there. So Anime does make the move and up into P6. Pizza not quite giving up just yet. Does fight straight back and Anime makes it stick into straight before the corner. Just as we enter the corner, he got ahead and made the move stick on the, through there. But Pizza is not giving up. He is looking for the move. Does go to stick a nose inside, but backs out slightly just to stay behind. Keeping within the slipstream, doing very well now. Nice little battle between these two. They are dropping off the top 5 though. But a fantastic battle between these two. So Anime now is starting to open up a little gap. Pizza's not going to give that up though. He will try anything to keep it below the, below the second mark. Maybe less if he can, but it has now got over that second mark. Anime has just floored it out of that corner. Trying, or just doing anything he can to lose Pizza Dog so he can go on and try and get into the top 5 for these last 7 laps. Pizza just not giving up, doing everything he can. He is just driving like everything depends on it right now to stay on the back of Anime. Ego has the 7 has jumped into the pits, sticking a fresh set of intermediate tyres on. Unfortunately, it does now drop down to 7th. Anime is up to 5th. Pizza up to 6th, and unfortunately dropped over 2nd now. Will have 7 right on his gearbox any moment. Is gonna be under pressure in the next lap or so. Possibly, maybe even by the end of this lap, he could be under pressure from the Haas of 7. Logan gets past Thief, unfortunately for him, but still in the top 10, still having a very good race so far. Both these drivers are pushing the limits and doing what they can. Both having very good races as well for Logan and Thief. Will in the Williams, haven't seen much of him this race, but doing very well. Up in 10th and so far taking the final points position. Oro does set the fastest lap now in the Aston Martins, currently 14th, having his own little race at the minute. Zuck gets past 5s. I think he may have had an incident into them corners as he's dropped quite far back quite quickly. So Capitano on the back of MJW, who's slowly building his way back up in this race, does hit the wall slightly. Hopefully doesn't do too much in terms of performance for his car with hitting the wheels against the barriers there. So Rowdy currently leading this race ahead of Ego, who is trying now to push this Mercedes to new limits, but gap currently sitting at around 4 seconds, just flicking up and around just below that. McCoy unfortunately getting a 3-second penalty there, so 2 of the top 3 drivers now are on penalties. Ego with 10 seconds, McCoy with 3. Oliver is within that 3 seconds of McCoy, so could potentially be losing that final podium spot to the Alpine. We also have 7 and Zuck both on time penalties as well. Unfortunate for the drivers, but it is easily done in certain areas of this racetrack, especially through here as we go on. As we look at Rowdy, it is easy there, but Rowdy very good job at keeping it well within limits through that part of the track, and goes 2/10 quicker than his previous lap, or his previous fastest, but not quite the fastest of this race at the minute. So Ego dropped that gap now to 3.1 seconds, has gained almost a second in this previous lap and a little bit. McCoy dropped to 5 seconds behind now, with Oliver a second, just still staying within that target for himself to be on the podium. So unfortunate there for MJW DNFing in this part of the track that we're about to come up to on the tight left-right. Not the easiest sector of the track, especially when it is drying like this quite clearly. Easy enough to go slightly wide and rebound off the walls. Unfortunate for him, he is only our 3rd DNF of the race, so really pretty good going considering the conditions that we've had through here. So Oliver still keeping within that second, looking very good round here. We have also got McCoy. They have actually dragged themselves to Ago now as well. They could both be on this podium potentially. So Rowdy looking for this win here in Vegas with around 2.5, about 2 laps to go. Oh, and Fives gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is very unfortunate for him. We'll need to do some brilliant laps now to keep that 10 seconds between himself and the car that will be close behind him. But yeah, Rowdy 4.5 seconds ahead of Ago currently, looking very strong in that P1 position at the moment. Only 2 laps to go as we come through into turn 17 in a moment. We will go back on board Rowdy in a moment, but we do have McCoy 7 tenths behind Ago. Going to be battling out for P2 on track. This is set to be an interesting last 2 laps for these 3 drivers here. 7 with a 40.5 fastest lap, doing very well on them intermediate tyres. Is currently P6, has had somewhat of a half decent race for himself in that Haas. So McCoy 9 tenths behind, looking to get the overtake done on track for Ago, sorry. Looking for this P2 position. 7 tenths behind and closing that gap very somewhat quickly in this final part of sector 2 into sector 3 in a moment through this tight right hander. Keeps it well in track limits. So has unfortunately dropped now to 1.1 second, but does potentially look to be trying to get ahead of him still. So 8 tenths behind Anime now. That is carrying a 3-second penalty, but does have the speed to get past and open that gap up in the final lap and a half here. We'll sit on board 7 with the pace advantage right now. Overtake button on. Up through turn 17. Anime try to get ahead there just to do something about it, but they are fighting out into... Oh, that was close. That could have been a little bit of contact there between the Haas and the Ferrari. That is going to be costly for Anime, who now has Pizza straight on the tail of him. Anime will be kicking himself over that was very unfortunate. He would have either wanted to have been slightly more clean, but he goes on. They are still both in the race. So with 3/4 of this lap to go, we see Ago now drop the gap to 3 seconds. McCoy is on 1.5 seconds. Oliver is 2 seconds behind now. Looking very strong race here. Ago, Rowdy now just using his battery on this final part. He could potentially take home the win with Ago now also blasting his battery. All these top 3 drivers now just doing whatever they can to put each other under a bit more pressure as we come round the final part of this race. Tin Man is in P1. Up into turn 17 here. The most silly corner. that most random corner, and Rowdy is our winner, followed by Ago. But McCoy jumps to second, Oliver jumps to second, McCoy 7, Ago, Anime jumps to 4th. Great race for them too. Pizza, Logan will come home in 8th, 24 seconds behind Pizza, but he does have a little bit of competition here from Thief, who goes slightly wide. That's unfortunate there for him. It is looking a very strong race for both drivers. Will be home in 10th in a moment as Logan crosses the line. And Thief, what a great race for Thief this week. Fantastic result for him. Will in the Williams, closely followed by Zuck. In the McLaren, they will cross the line quite close, and there we go. 3 attempts behind for Zuck, but unfortunately had a penalty. Fives will see us home in 13th in a moment. Not battling too much on Oro, but still trying whatever they both can to get ahead or defend each other here. And Fives just crosses the line ahead, but unfortunate for penalties, Oro goes ahead. Capitano now will be in 14th position. Difficult race for him, but he will be glad to bring it home here. Did have actually a slightly damaged wing by the looks of that. Brian in the 15th here, and Shifty, another difficult race for him, and he will finish the race here in 16th. Very difficult race now, but he will be pleased that he finished the race, brought the car back, and in challenging conditions, we do have 16 finishers in this race. Very good outcome, with Rowdy holding his flag up very proudly here at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. He is our winner. Very, very good race. Very strong race from the Aston Martin driver. He will be proud of that. We also have Oliver and McCoy on to round the podium off. Very strong races, with our championship leader in 4th, 7 in 5th, Ago in 6th, Pizza in 7th, Logan in 8th, Beef in 9th, Will in 10th to round off our top 10 finishes. Very good races from everyone here today. And until next time, or I am corrected, that is back-to-back wins for Rowdy this race. In fact, he will be absolutely buzzing from that race. Absolutely fantastic for him. And hopefully he will take that into our next race. So that will be all for today. Thank you. I have been Bucko. Hope you have all enjoyed the race. Until next time, bye bye.